And we're live. Okay. Welcome back to the Meld PR vlog. And I'm your host, Jonathon Narvey. I'm the founder of Meld PR. And I'm here with Shani Kotecha, who is our content specialist. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. What is your job title again?
I do so many things. Yes.
So Shani, we have a fun topic today. We're going to be talking about how fake news is, how did I put this?
Fake news is real news, but real news is fake news.
Thank you.
And how do you be smart enough to tell the difference?
Yes. Why do we know about this, Shani?
Well, because a lot of the time as PR professionals, we are sometimes I feel like we are writing the news. We're sending stories to journalists to produce. We're pitching ideas. So stories that eventually make it out into the newspaper or online often come from people like us. So.
Yes, that's true. And it's the true news that we're putting out until it reaches a reporter's inbox, at which point everything goes to shit. So, yeah, fake news is real news is fake. What do we mean by that? Let's define our terms. What do you mean when you say fake news, or what do you think other people mean when they say that phrase?
I feel like there's two kinds of fake news. So there's fake news, which is some random person, like, I don't know, Donald Trump, just putting out random tweets or articles, and they're like blatantly lies, mostly for self-promotion. But then there's fake news like UK newspapers like The Sun or the Daily Mail, where I think they take something that should be an assumption or should be like a allegedly, and they're like, yeah, but it's true, whatever, we looked into it, it's all good. So they speak like they have the authority of facts, but they don't. And at the same time, they still have a very solid following. So they do it very well. But it's eye-catching over real is what they go for.
Yeah, and there's many ways to create fake news. And I guess from now on, I'm going to be talking about the sort of malicious kind where, you know, the journalist probably knows what they're doing, or at least should know what they're doing. And there's a few sort of proven and everlasting, evergreen techniques. Bury the lead. The most important thing that you have to include because it's factual and it's kind of important for the story, but you throw it into paragraph 10 or 12 and hope people don't notice. One of my favorites is whoever you have the subject plus says. So maybe Trump says, or Republican says, or conservative says, or liberal says, or NDP leader says. Anytime you throw that at the beginning of the headline, instantly everyone who voted against that person believes that that person is lying, and therefore they can just disregard that news article because it's completely, fake news for another reason. So we're not even going to get into the nuts and bolts of how to discover whether something is fake news by reading through particular articles and getting all the way to the end. No, all we're going to do, or to demonstrate that this is in fact a thing that is not only common, but it's everywhere. We're literally going to just look at some major news websites, and we're just going to look at the headlines, look at the illustrations, the videos, that we're not even going to click on them. We're just going to look at what's on the front page. And we're not going to show you them because I'm not very sophisticated, and I think I might, I don't want to break copyright. And so I need to talk to a lawyer about this and get this sorted. But in the meantime, you can trust that if I'm reading an actual headline, that's not fake, that, the headline exists. Or if I'm describing something, it exists. So I'm going to model what, I'm trying to do here, and then Shani will take turns and let's find some interesting examples right off the cuff. So
Oh yeah.
my first one that I've discovered is on the New York Times, and so there's a I'll tell you what's fake about the story. So it's the headline of, it's an infographic. It says new reported cases in the U.S. And the graph is clearly real, and it's showing there was a big bump in April, and then it went down in May and June, and then it went way up in July, and then down in August and September. Okay, so this is on the front page, and the graph is in red, and it looks dangerous. It doesn't look good. The number of cases is definitely in the tens of thousands, so that's pretty horrible. But what's fake about this? What could possibly be fake? They're showing numbers. Well, are they showing the numbers that are actually relevant to a public that needs, are they getting the news they need to know? And the news they need to know, in my opinion, and others have argued against this, I would suggest people just Google deaths from COVID in New York, or deaths from COVID in, name an American city, and just look at the flat line that has happened in some cities like New York since July, of basically zero deaths, even as cases are rising. And I know people will argue with me on this, but I feel like that's the story, is COVID is over. That's the story. So new reported cases in the US with this big graph that looks very scary. This is to my mind, it's fake. But this is that's probably arguable. Maybe it's not the best example, but I think it's a fun example to kick off with. But Shani, you take it away. Find your example, and we're going to take turns.
Before we leave on that one, it's definitely not fake, but I had a lecturer at university that was the news editor for the Daily Express in England, and I would always be writing the headline for the front page, and he would get me to write probably the most outrageous things that were true, but it was just the way that we put them, the way that we skewed them, that was just horrible. And he was like, yeah, but someone's going to pick it up. So if you put a graph like that there, someone's going to click on it. So
yes,
anyway.
Yes. So this is, and it's not like reporters are evil liars. They have an incentive.
Well,
they're going off of human behavior. Humans they want something negative and horrible. They want to be entertained, or I don't know what it is. Sorry, Shani, you go ahead.
All right. So I'm looking at some English newspapers, and I think what first is so different is that they talk about news with I think the assumption that everything there is to know about the UK landscape, because I'm reading some of these, and obviously I've been gone long enough that I don't know, so it's already kind of shady. So I've got one that says, soldiers are to step in so police can target flouters. Troops may be drafted to enforce the new coronavirus crackdown, Boris Johnson says. Which sounds, when he says troops may be drafted, it genuinely sounds like he's thinking of getting the army to come in and enforce COVID restrictions, which, England's not a big place, especially compared to Canada, but they're not going to have the army marching through London. I think, like you said before, or we said before this, having Boris Johnson says at the end of it is so on purpose. I mean, one, I think they're trying to add some authority to it. Maybe he did sort of hint at it, but I don't know if it's necessarily true. What was the other thing you said about the putting says in the title?
Well, I just wanted to follow up with something you just said. Whether or not he said it, maybe it was like in a 10-minute speech, and it's like something that would have, if the speech was written down, it was like on page 8, and it's like, in an extreme case, if absolutely we've got a society breaking down, we might need to send in the army to, help out the first responders or something like that. But yeah, I think that's, it's the other point I was making with, when you've got ex-politician says, anyone who dislikes or voted against that person is just like, well, obviously I can disregard anything that's in this article. And so I feel like reporters do this when there's a major story and they have to report on it. But it's like, what is the way that I can get the fewest number of people to actually read it? And those who do read it will totally agree with me.
Yeah. I mean, while he is our prime minister, I don't know how many people have that much respect for him anymore. So saying, yeah, Boris Johnson says we're going to have troops to, police us. I rolled my eyes, and I think the rest of the country did too.
I'm old enough to remember there was a time, I believe Paul Martin was prime minister, and Stephen Harper was running against him. So Paul Martin was the center-left PM, and Stephen Harper was the rising conservative leader. And so Paul Martin said, look, you vote for these guys, the next day, there's going to be troops in the streets. It was totally the same thing. It's like the go-to, yeah, these people you dislike, it's going to be bad. It's going to be scary. That was a great example, Shani. I'm gonna, let's see, should I pick on New York Times some more? Let's see. Let's go with, all right, so New York Times. I don't want to do another COVID one, because, that's just going to give away. Let's see. Why?
News is looking good today, huh?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go to CBC because I found a ton of good stuff there. So, number one, here's a good one. I want to puke. David Suzuki reacts to O'Regan's nuclear power endorsement.
I was just looking at that. What a great headline.
It's like, well, this is, is it fake or is it just, well, it's true. He probably said that. So what is the fakeness in this? Well, number one, does this represent, is this a significant, say, majority opinion? Like everybody wants to puke when they think about this. But there's also something, maybe not fake, but weird about the environmental icon of Canada and arguably the world, slamming nuclear power. It's like, well, how else do you think we're going to get to carbon neutral, sort of that kind of economy? But even worse than that is, I'm going to do 2 for 1. There's a headline, why autumn is actually the best time to visit Whistler. Well, that's fake. Clearly, winter is the best time to visit Whistler.
Yeah, I feel for travel journalists because they have to sell year round. They can't just be like, yeah, go in the summer for a hike and winter for skiing. No, all year round. They have to sell London in the winter and Toronto in the winter, and these are some pretty miserable places. So I understand the tiny white lies that they tell. I feel for them.
Well said. Shani, what's your next example?
I found a really awesome one on Rebel News, which says it all. It says, threat of $10,000 fine, jail time shuts down outdoor comedy protest. Which, I mean, if you put $10,000 fine and jail time, I know it says threat, but your first thought is, did they walk out into a comedy protest and threaten to throw people into jail. It's quite an extreme reaction to a comedy protest, but also, what is a comedy protest?
Well played, Shani Kotecha. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good find.
So actually, and reading through, it doesn't sound like, the police turned up and threatened them. It sounds like someone hosted a bit of an outdoor comedy show, and oh no, he didn't. Just an hour before showtime, he pulled the plug on it. So he wasn't even threatened. Common sense just kicked in, and he was like, well, I shouldn't hold a comedy protest today. Maybe another day. But it does sound like the police turned up and shut it down.
Okay, I'm looking for other stuff on the Rebel site, and I have to say I'm partial to the Rebel just because everybody hates them, so therefore I have to like them. But let's see what
Ooh, if you click on the campaigns link right at the top, it says get your copy of China virus today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh no.
All right. Oh wait, that is literally isn't that his book?
Well, it says read about how Justin Trudeau's pro-communist ideology is putting Canadians in danger.
Oh well, that's legit though.
I don't know enough about Canadian politics.
Well, all right. Well, where the fakeness comes in is pro-communist ideology. People might read into that. Oh, is he really the son of Fidel Castro? There was this thing. I think it was 3-4 years ago where they put up Fidel Castro and a picture of a younger Justin Trudeau, and it really did look like exactly the same dude. Just wearing one of those combat caps. And in fairness, if I'm not mistaken, Trudeau actually did say upon Fidel Castro's death, he was like, I'm paraphrasing here, but I loved him and he was an awesome dude. That's probably not exactly what he said, but he was basically, he was an awesome guy who did a lot of good. It actually, the quote wasn't anything like that, but let me just see. Now I have to look it up. Justin Trudeau.
Well, I'll just say, in the meantime, what I feel like the problem with this is that if someone like me opened this up, whether or not this story is real, I immediately hate it, because China virus, as the name of a book, sounds not great. And Justin Trudeau's pro-communist ideology putting Canadians in danger. I'm just gonna exit the website now. That's the opposite.
Yep. There is no question that is not news. That's propaganda. In fairness to Ezra Levant, he does not claim to be an objective guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and everyone knows exactly what his politics are. That's kind of the problem with the whole fake news thing. Is I mean, it would be fine if reporters sort of put it out there, or it was just clear. If you're reading this paper, it's from a certain perspective. And I love that the UK papers actually, they do exactly that. Like,
Yeah, they're very honest.
Let's get one or two more. So let's leave the Rebel alone. Do you have another good one for me?
I'm having a look now. I just thought of a.
I did find this one, and it's not fake news, but it kind of is. First photo: Quebec woman charged with threatening to kill U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, there's nothing untrue about that headline. It is indeed the first photo. It is it's charged with threatening to kill U.S. President Donald Trump. I'm sure that's all true. I'm sure the newspaper has done its job, and the police have actually done that. They've actually charged this person. But it says Quebec woman. and you look at the picture, and I gotta say, are they sure? They might want to check. It's
a woman?
Yeah. I'm gonna share this link with you in the Slack. This is, by the way, completely juvenile of me. But take a look at that.
That is juvenile. I think it's a woman. You don't see an Adam's apple?
So you're okay. Yeah. All right.
That's a woman.
Okay. So maybe that's the giveaway.
But it's not the most flattering picture. That's definitely on purpose.
No.
It's an ugly mugshot.
Yes.
Also, she called him an ugly tyrant clown. I mean, that's not inaccurate.
Okay. Well, there you go. There you go.
Stuff.
Okay. All right. So we found a true thing.
I've got one from The Sun, which is the worst newspaper in England, probably.
Okay.
So this says, Prime Minister warns stricter rules likely to last 6 months, capital letters, ruining Xmas for millions. Which, first of all, I think at this point it's hard to predict anything about the future. So likely to last 6 months, maybe he's sort of hinted, but I think the entire world is under lockdown and strict rules. So fair to Boris Johnson for doing something remotely correct. Ruining Christmas for millions. I don't think part of his plan to save his country and make sure people are safe, he wasn't like, dear Santa, let's ruin Christmas for everyone.
Are you sure?
Oh, actually, that's true. Maybe he did. But that's quite, even if it's true, I think you would probably find the alternate headline on The Guardian or The Telegraph that said, Boris Johnson announces strict rules until the end of 2020 and not mention that no one's getting presents this year.
Okay, so there's been a lot of, I think we've made our point, and I guess I didn't want to focus on purely political news, but there's a lot of that. And I guess that's just, that's what people put onto the front page just because political news makes us crazy and therefore we almost read it, which I hate. So, I personally try to minimize. I'm of two minds on this because I genuinely, I like to think about politics, but I also don't like to read about it and think about it too much because I know it's unhealthy for people and it should be less of a part of our lives. That's just my take. That has nothing to do with, I guess, fake news versus real news. But bringing this back around to PR, I want to emphasize, we're not about planting fake stories. As a PR company, we are about getting a win-win with a reporter who wants to cover a certain area, and we want to provide them the information so that they can do their job. So to that extent, we want to, you never want to plant any kind of fake element into your story. Everything that is newsworthy, is timely, is interesting about the story that you're putting in front of their eyeballs has to be accurate, has to be true, because otherwise you are really burning them and therefore burning yourself because they'll never talk to you again. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I was just thinking it does almost damage your reputation because if you're reaching out to a journalist and you've got a subject line that is entirely untrue, like eye-catching so they open the email but untrue, they're never really gonna trust you again, I imagine, because they're gonna open the email, realize it's crap, and then go, well, no. But I think the line that the balance that we try and have is, it's a headline that's catchy, but it's still accurate. And I think sometimes we don't lie, but we'll be sort of vague in the headline and try and capture the big picture to draw people in. But again, it's more of a exciting overview rather than untrue information. Because you just know that it could damage your reputation and it's not true. And you've also got clients to be helping out.
Precisely. So well said. And I guess to sum up, whether you're in public relations or you're a reporter or you're anybody really, honesty is the best policy. With that, I think we've had a great conversation. Shani
Mm.
Kotecha from Meld PR. I am Jonathon Narvey from Meld PR. You knew that, but maybe everyone who was watching this forgot. You've been watching the Meld PR vlog, and thank you very much for watching. And now you know the difference between fake news and real news, and you can spot it and look for the headlines that stand out to you. So yeah, good luck with that. All right, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.